fix it. There we go. Now people should be able to hear me. That was weird. Sorry for the technical difficulties. And what's even funnier is that even though no one could hear me, I was still singing the entire time. Cause I'm weird. Hello everybody. I hope everyone's doing good. You missed part of my song because some of the audio was being weird there. I forgot to. I was in OBS and I literally forgot to put in the actual mic audio. Turn this down. I'm a little bright. It should be. There we are. Look at me. Look at me. I'm beautiful in this lighting. Of course, I need to fix the. I need to light this a little bit better because you can't really see what's going on over there anymore. But alas. Anyways, hi everybody. How is everyone? Corey, good to see ya. Vale, good to see ya. Cappuccino, Miss Wicked Wolf, Don, Saint Beatles, Andrew, Serpentros, Suzanne, Lisa, good to see you. How is everyone doing tonight? I hope everyone's doing good. I hope everyone's... Walter's a lot like Doc Brown and Jesse's a lot like Marty. You're talking about Breaking Bad and Back to the Future? I guess I could see that. There is like a similar dynamic to that. Actually, there is a very similar dynamic to that. I like that. Yeah, things are going good. I'm a little bit tired today. I had to get up early for work and I've been running around because of work, but things are good. You're here to stir the pot, Miss Wicked Wolf, as always. As always, glad that you're here to stir the pot. Let's see. We just finished a watch party over in the Discord, so this is great timing. Yeah, I know, it's almost as if I planned it that way. What were you all watching today? You in the Discord, you started you're doing, for those of you who don't know, who are just popping in my Discord, over on Patreon, does a watch party of different Star Trek episodes and different random other things throughout the week. And I think they're doing like you're doing like powerful women characters in Star Trek, I think is the theme right now. So hopefully that was a lot of fun. To anybody in chat who are, Carlisle says, to anybody in chat who are from Texas, my heart goes out to you, and I hope that you're staying safe and doing well. Yes, I hope everyone's doing, especially if you're in Texas or in the area that's sort of without power. I really hope you are, I really, really hope you're all doing well right now, because I know that this is kind of scary. I know at least one of us who was here in the chat earlier. Where are you? Yeah, Psychic Refugee. I know I saw you in the chat. You are, I know you're in Texas, and I know you said you were back, you had power yesterday, but I'm glad you're, I hope you're doing good. If Council of Geeks comes here and starts messing with you, let me know and I'll take care of her, gives reassuring wink. Oh no, you're gonna fight you're gonna fight poor Vera here? You're gonna fight poor Vera? Going to be able to stay awake for WandaVision tonight? Yes. I mean, after this, I'm probably gonna get some food and chillax for a little while. Maybe play some, I've been playing Super Mario 3D World, so there we go. But what does everyone wish to talk about tonight? We can talk about anything. We're talking about that Mortal Kombat trailer. Like, hell yeah, the Mortal Kombat trailer today was freaking amazing, right? I'm not the biggest fighting game fan, but like Mortal Kombat's like the one fighting game series that I actually do play, that and Injustice, which are both made by the same people. And I was so pumped by that trailer. They did the get over here thing. They have the freaking blood knife. Like, oh, so good. So good. A freaking blood knife. Amazing. Oh, and thank you, Andrew Clegg. You get a heart for those of you who don't know who are in the stream. If you give a super chat, I give you a heart. So thank you so much to Andrew. I really appreciate the super chat. You are absolutely lovely. Let's see. I'm super looking forward to your For All Mankind video tomorrow. Moore was one of the TNG DS9's best writers, and I haven't heard of this show until now. Yes. My video tomorrow that is currently, waiting to do the premiere thing is on the show For All Mankind, which Ronald D. Moore is the executive producer of, who many people may know from his time writing TNG and DS9, but also from being the executive producer and lead creative on Battlestar Galactica. So, whoa, so cool. Yeah, I did see the Mars landing. I only got to see it briefly because, again, had work. But it was really, really cool. Kind of fortuitous timing with For All Mankind, considering For All Mankind is NASA focused. So there we go. Yeah, I am very, very excited about space stuff. Aw. Corey say, Vale and I watched WandaVision in the morning, then immediately watched Jessie Gender's review. Well, I'm glad. I'm very excited. I'm glad that I know people like to watch, like, sort of do a double feature with the review. That's partially why I try to get it out so early, is so that people can watch it right after they watch the show. So I hope that people enjoy that. Would you ever do a collab video with Link Guerra? It sounds like you guys would work well together, especially since you both love Star Trek. I wouldn't be against that. I don't necessarily know Link Guerra, but I certainly wouldn't be against anything. I don't really know them. Can you fake an Irish accent? Irish brogue. That's my best. That's the best one that I can do. I don't know if it's really the best one. Whenever I try to get into an Irish accent, and I'm sure this is very offensive, but the way I try to do it is I just think of like the Simpsons episode, like the Simpsons movie where it's like, oh, hello, it's an Irish brogue, where Lisa says, he has an Irish brogue. I don't, so that's my best Irish impression. Have you seen The Lighthouse 2019? I did. That movie is a trip. Such a great meditation on manhood and like masculinity. Also, they finally answered the question. Finally answered the question of how you have sex with a mermaid. So I know that a lot of people were wondering about that, but yeah, they finally answered the question: how do you bone a mermaid? And I know it was something that we were all wondering, and that movie makes it very expressly clear. Your Irish accent sounds like it grew up in Aberdeen. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, pretty much. That sounds about right. Yeah, Cruella. People are talking about the Cruella trailer. The Cruella trailer, I had a lot of thoughts about, but I think Vera over on Council of Geeks, she kind of summed up most of, or I think she did it on her Break Room of the Geeks channel. She kind of summed up most of my my thoughts on that, which was well, how do you bone a mermaid? You gotta watch The Lighthouse. But she summed up most of my thoughts on it. It's just like Disney just seemed to like look at a list of like, oh, we did Maleficent did well, and we've been doing these like live action movies. So they just kind of like threw up a dartboard and like threw a dartboard at like Disney villains that they could do a movie on, and they threw it at Cruella. And like, to some degree, I appreciate that they're kind of going like a Harley Quinn-esque route for her, because that, like, you know, it's a decent enough way to take that character. Like, it kind of makes sense, but I just don't know how you're gonna ask us to sympathize with the character who is like, her whole thing is like she wants to kill puppies and make a coat. Like, she's a great villain, don't get me wrong. Like, Cruella de Vil, if she doesn't get you. Yeah, like she's a great villain. She honestly is kind of terrifying for what she is, and she's a great like discussion of like the greed and capitalism and all that jazz. But like, to ask us to empathize with her, even if you end up having her be an anti-hero or straight up villain, like, it's just weird. It's a weird character to do that with. But to be fair, I appreciate the Harley Quinn energy she gives, because I love Harley Quinn. So yeah, it's very very weird. Also, got 2 super chats. So Suzanne, hopefully I'm saying that right, apologies, but thank you so much for the super chat. This heart is for you. You are lovely. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Sending you all the love. And Nathaniel Robinson says, Jessie, and also Nathaniel, I should give you a heart as well. Nathaniel, thank you so much for the super chat. You are absolutely lovely. You said, Jessie, I've been watching the movies on your best of 2020 list. Thanks, especially loved Da 5 Bloods. Oh, well, thank you. I'm glad that that you're enjoying the 2020 list. I tried to like make that list like kind of fun and like toss some like unexpected choices in that people that wouldn't like, but that I really loved and kind of wanted to like sort of get out there and like thought were underappreciated. And Da 5 Bloods was like strangely like it was talked about a lot when it came out, but it's kind of been forgotten. And Da 5 Bloods, it's really, really, really good. It's like kind of an updated like Treasure of the Sierra Madre. It's definitely like talking. I mean, Spike Lee, I think, is absolutely wonderful. Both Da 5 Bloods and BlacKkKlansman have been excellent returns to form for him. Not that he was ever like terrible, but like those are like really bringing him back into the mainstream as well. He deserves to be. And yeah, Da 5 Bloods. I mean, you get a great. Why am I blanking on his name? Black Panther actor. Who recently passed away. My brain is blanking for some reason on his name. I don't know why I can't think of his name. People in the chat, I'm sure, will let me know. But great performance from him in there. Some really creative stuff. Some really topical stuff. Like, I mean, one of the characters that you're made to empathize with is a Trump supporter, like literally wearing a MAGA hat, which is like, not saying that you can't empathize with a Trump supporter, but it's such a topical subject and one that could be very, very heated. And yet the movie like brings so much empathy to that sort of like discussion, and doesn't like get into this sort of didactic like fight like that they show that, but they show like a lot of empathy for all sides of an issue in within the Black community. It's just such a really, really thoughtful film, and I really loved it. I'm kind of sad that Chadwick Boseman, thank you everybody. I'm really sad that it kind of got forgotten. Hopefully it won't be completely forgotten, but if I recall, like the Golden Globes didn't nominate it. If I'm trying to remember correctly, I don't think the Golden Globes nominated it. We'll see what happens with the Oscars, but yeah, it'd be kind of sad because that movie, it's just sad that it kind of was released a little bit too early in the year. So sadly. And Andrew Klang, sorry to bother you is okay. Sorry to bother you. I will, I was going to say, I will jump on, never mind. I won't make that joke. It would have been giving too much away about the film. If you have not seen the movie Sorry to Bother You, I believe it came out in 2019. Sorry to Bother You was my favorite film of 2019. Like, period, no, it came out in 2018 because 2019 was, my favorite film of 2019 was Parasite and Knives Out, as Nathan pointed out. Knives Out and Parasite were like my two battling number one films of 2019. Sorry to Bother You, I believe, was 2018 because I remember that being my number one film of 2018. I was so angry that it didn't get nominated for the Oscars. Now, obviously, the director of Sorry to Bother You didn't want to do an Oscar campaign because he thinks, and he's right, the Oscar campaign is really just all about how much money you spend and all about the schmoozing up with people. The Oscar campaign is really more of a political thing more than anything else. So really, I totally understand that. But Sorry to Bother You is such a clever movie, such a hilarious movie, such a deeply, deeply thoughtful film about race and the intersection of race and capitalism and code switching. It is hilarious. It is also one of the most surprising films you will ever watch. Like, legitimately, if you have not heard of Sorry to Bother You, do not look it up. Just do not look up anything about the movie. Like, literally do not look up anything about that movie and go and watch it. That movie is a movie that is best going into it completely blind and being shocked by what that movie is. It is, I even knew a little bit of what the movie was going into it, and by the end of the movie I'm like, I was not expecting this. And it is such a great film. Yeah, Sorry to Bother You is fantastic. I would highly recommend it. Also, I just saw Adam Apple. Thank you so much for the super chat. Sending you an absolute heart. An absolute heart. I don't know what the difference between an absolute heart and a regular heart is, but this is an absolute heart for you. Adam's Apple, you are absolutely wonderful, and I really appreciate the super chat. So yeah. And someone asked earlier, Knives Out. Knives Out was it kind of was like battling for my favorite film of 2019. It was kind of between Parasite and Knives Out, as I mentioned. You didn't like Green Book? Here's the thing. I actually did not hate Green Book. I watched Green Book, and it is like, it's a fine acting performance. It is well shot and well done. Mahershala Ali does a great job in it, I think. But the film oversimplifies like racial dynamics. It says like, oh look, we can overcome racism. It's just a personal problem. If you just get to know people of color, racism will just disappear. Which totally is true on an individual level, but it completely ignores like the systemic problems. And the movie kind of like touches on the systemic problems, but then just sort of says, yeah, but it's just because they don't know people of color. They just don't know a black guy. And it kind of glosses over the fact that Mahershala Ali's character, who was a real person, was also gay. It's, again, touched upon in the film, but kind of just glossed over. And so when I watched the film, I'm like, this is fine. It's not... I honestly am not like, this is the worst thing ever, but it's clearly like an oversimplification of that idea. And I believe it's also like, I believe it was written and produced by like white people, which is, again, not saying that white people can't talk about race. In fact, white people should be more open about talking about race, but it just felt like very cursory and not as in depth as it could be. And so I was like, okay, this is a fine movie, and I was okay with it. But the problem with Green Book is that it won Best Picture that year, right? It won Best Picture against BlacKkKlansman, and I believe Sorry to Bother You was also that year too. So BlacKkKlansman, Sorry to Bother You. There was another movie that year that was like a bit. Oh, Black Panther was in there, I believe, that year too. I believe If Beale Street Could Talk, which was also another great film from the director of Moonlight. All those films were that year, which were like really in-depth, thoughtful movies by black creators about race and talking about like the many different facets of race. And so for Knives Out to win that year was just especially egregious. It's like, oh, you're rewarding just a cursory, like, white savior-y kind of film, which, again, not the worst thing in the world. It wasn't like Crash levels of bad, but it just should not have compared to those films. And so, yeah, that was just very, very frustrating. Also, someone mentioned, where did I just see it? I just saw someone mention another movie that I really love, and I wanted, Ready or Not, Hannah Riskin. Yes. Ready or Not is such a good movie too. Sorry, now we're just talking about movies that I loved in 2019. We're talking about 2019 movies here. You all want to talk about some really topical stuff. We're going to talk about Jessie's favorite movies of 2019. But I'll gush about movies all day because I'm a huge movie nerd and I don't talk about as many movies as I should. Ready or Not is such a great movie. I legitimately still listen to the Ready or Not song in there. That is a great horror movie. It's basically Knives Out, but with a horror movie. It's like a horror movie version of Knives Out. And it is so good. It's so good. And the ending of Ready or Not is just so, yeah, I agree, Hannah. The ending of Ready or Not is just such a, oh, they went there. They actually went there. Yeah, so if you're a big fan of Knives Out, and if you like Knives Out, and you like horror movies, go watch Ready or Not, because it's basically just a horror movie version of Knives Out. And, you know, it's not as good as Knives Out. Knives Out clearly has a lot more going on for it, but it's definitely a really, really fun film. So I would highly recommend Ready or Not. Very, very much so. That might have also been a great movie, one of my favorite movies of 2019. Yeah, Christy, I agree. Green Book is the make white people feel good about themselves black movie of that year. I definitely agree. That is definitely what Green Book is. And agree, Andrew. If Beale Street Could Talk, that's another really great film. Highly recommend. The Last Black Man in San Francisco. That's also another really great film. I believe that was also 2019. Like, again, there was so, like, not that there weren't great films from the black community, like, from black creators before 2019, because there were many, many, many. Spike Lee, obviously, being a great example of that. But 2019 was such this, like, peak moment for, and hopefully it's not the peak, because hopefully it keeps going, but, like, it was such, like, what's the word, like, turning point? There's a phrase that I'm blanking out, but it was such, like, a breakout moment for black cinema, like really hitting the mainstream. And so for that year to be the year they give the Best Picture to Green Book was just, it made me angry. And it's even funnier because the year before and the year after, the two movies that I wanted to win, like, so rarely, the Oscars is like my Super Bowl. Like, I never really, my favorite movies are never nominated for the Oscars, but I always love watching the Oscars. I love, like, thinking about the politics of Hollywood and all that stuff. That year, I believe Get Out was 2019 as well. It might have been 2018. I might have been forgetting about that. And then Moonlight was 2017. But anyways, in 2018 and 2020, the movies that won the Best Picture were actually the movies that were my inflection point. Thank you, Wildbanger. That's a better word. But the 2018 and 2020, the actual movies that were my favorite movies of those years won Best Picture. The Shape of Water in 2018, I believe, and Parasite in 2020, which never happens. That never happens. The Oscars never award Best Picture to my favorite movie, and so I was actually just shocked by that. And then in the middle, you have Green Book, which is like, that's just terrible. So there we go. Get Out was 2017. Oh, gosh. Time goes by too quickly. I mean, Moonlight's another great like film for like sort of a in that inflection point of black cinema. Though I hate the term black cinema because it implies there's like it's a separate cinema. Like it's just all part of cinema. I can't say that. Cinema. But anyways, let's see here. Oh, I missed a super chat. I just wanted to make sure. I knew I missed something. I'm gonna give a heart. Samantha Morehouse, thank you so much for the super chat. Sending you love. This heart is for you. You are greatly appreciated, and your super chat is greatly appreciated. Sending you all the love. Thanks for being amazing. I love hanging out in your stream since discovering your YouTube channel a few months ago. Well, thank you so much, Samantha. I am so glad to have you here. I'm glad that you're enjoying yourself, and I'm glad that you're having fun. I am. Thank you to you. I really appreciate it, and I really appreciate you. Benchmark, yeah, benchmark year. That's good. That's also a good one. Don't you mean La La Land? Oh boy, I actually like La La Land quite a bit. Everyone hates La La Land. Yes, it was Hollywood sort of like being like, aren't we great? But that's Hollywood. Hollywood does that all the time. Hollywood makes movies about Hollywood, and I really like that director. I didn't love his what was it? First Man. First Man was okay. But his movie, oh God, why am I blanking? With J.K. Simmons. Oh my gosh, it's one of my favorite movies, and I cannot, even though I disagree with its ultimate idea. Oh my, Whiplash, thank you. I like Whiplash. Whiplash is such a good movie. It was one of those it's one of those few movies where I real like the first time I watched it, I didn't realize I was breathing. For the last 5 minutes, I was holding my breath, and then when the credits hit, I'm like, oh, I forgot to breathe during those last 5 minutes. It's such a great film, even though I disagree with it. the ultimate thesis of Whiplash is to be able to be a great artist, you need to devote your life solely to this one endeavor and give up all things, and you can be sort of and anything to justify great art, like even being toxic and abusive, is this sort of thing. Now, the movie kind of it critiques that idea a little bit. It's not ultimately saying that completely, but that is sort of the justification that it was trying to go for. And I'm like, disagree, but you did it. You argued it well. So. Oh, and Into the Spider-Verse, yeah. Into the Spider-Verse is one of the few movies I so rarely, and plus J.K. Simmons in anything, by the way, is just phenomenal. Which, by the way, people should watch Counterpart, which is one of my favorite TV shows, and I'm so disappointed it got canceled. Speaking of J.K. Simmons, anyways, Into the Spider-Verse is one of those few movies that I saw like 3 times in the movie theaters. Like I went and saw it by myself, and then I went to visit family for Christmas that year, and I'm like, I'm taking you all to see Into the Spider-Verse because I need to see it in the movie theater again, and I want you all to see it. So there are only a few movies here and there that I go back and rewatch more than once in the movie theater. I'm trying to think of like other movies that I did that for. Avengers Endgame, obviously, I saw a few times in the theater. A few others here and there, I can't remember. Knives Out, I think I did that for too. But Into the Spider-Verse was one of those as well, where I just like, I need to see this again. Let's see. Chloe Eastwood asks, Jessie, as a creator, do you feel pressure as a creator platform person to watch and be knowledgeable about movies like Green Book, Danish Girl, etc.? Yes. Like, I mean, this gets into my own personal anxieties, to be very honest with you. Like, one of the things that I know that my anxiety, just to talk from a personal place as a creator, that I feel like I want to be knowledgeable on everything. And so like one of my anxieties is like I do not allow myself to rewatch things all that much, because it's like, all right, I need to be in the know, I need to be caught up on stuff. That it was especially pronounced when I worked at The Advocate and Pride.com, which is an LGBTQ magazine. And so when I worked there, I was working in LA, in Hollywood. I was like, oh, to be able to talk about everything, I need to have all these contexts. I need to be aware of everything. And so I do feel like I did, and I still do to a degree. And it actually, like, I honestly get like a lot of anxiety a lot of the time where I'm like, oh, is this a movie that's going to be like helpful to like me being able to talk about stuff? And that's like my own mental thing. So I try to be as constantly aware of stuff, but I also like, I'm trying to be better about like being like, no, you don't need to know every single thing. It is impossible. And you sit back and it's like, I don't need to know about everything. I don't need to touch upon everything. Like there's always I forget the exact like thing where it's like there's always going to be more. The more you know, the more you're going to be aware that you don't know stuff. And so all you can do really when you create things is just try to understand trends, try to understand ideas, and try to point to specific things as best you can. But there's always going to be something you missed. There's always going to be something you forget. There's always going to be a contradiction to your point. And all you can do is just try to be as thoughtful and inclusive as you can be, and just know that you're never going to be perfect. And that's okay. That's okay. If I was capable of seeing every single transgender film, that would be great, but it would also be kind of sad, right? It would mean that there was a limit on how much trans stuff there was, and I don't want to be able to. I want there to be such a lot of other stuff. So I think like yes, I do have there's a personal anxiety to me wanting to be able to watch everything and know everything. There is a bit of responsibility too within that. Like if I'm going to make something, if I'm going to create something, I should be knowledgeable and try to back up what I'm saying with research. So you don't want to just spout off stuff willy-nilly, so you want to be able to speak authoritatively, but you also know that no matter what you're going to do, there is a limit to your knowledge and expertise. There's always going to be, and so it's just kind of balancing all those things, right? It's just always going to be balancing all those things. So because there's never one clear answer. There's never clearly. It's always about balance, as Thanos tells us. Someone gave a super chat. Here we are, giving you a heart. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Andrew Clegg. You are amazing, and this is your second time giving a super chat, so thank you to you. How would you rank Del Toro's filmography? I'm sorry, I'm missing up some of the chat, so I'm going to catch up. But how would I rank Del Toro's filmography? I mean, Del Toro is one of my favorite filmmakers of all time. I'm deeply disappointed he did not get to make The Hobbit. I mean, I will defend the first 2 Hobbit films, not the third one. But I will defend the first 2 Hobbit films, but it's one of my deep sadnesses that he did not direct the final, he did not direct the Hobbit films, as you said, because, it's on this shoulder, actually. Because, if you don't know, I got a Hobbit tattoo on my shoulder. So, like, I'm a bit of a fan of The Hobbit. Anyways, how would I rank his filmography? I would say, let me look at it, because I think there's a couple of his earlier films that I have not watched. like, I don't think I've seen The Orphanage. I'm gonna pull it up. I think Shape of Water might be his favorite of mine. I'm gonna see what. Let's see. Pan's Labyrinth is definitely up there. My Xbox just turned on. Go away, Xbox. Don't be creepy. Pacific Rim I actually put up there too. Like, all right, let's see. I would probably put. Yeah, I would probably put Shape of Water at number 1. Just looking at this real quickly. I will say I have not seen Chronos, Mimic, or The Devil's Backbone. Those are the 3 that he did that I have not seen. So I have not seen some of his earlier work, which is on me. I want to get around to it, but I haven't yet. Just quick, fast and dirty ranking. Just kind of quickly looking at this. Shape of Water would probably be number 1. Pan's Labyrinth would probably be number 2. Probably Pacific Rim number 3. I actually really love Pacific Rim, like, deeply. And I will fight for that movie. Probably then Hellboy 2, then Hellboy 1, then Blade 2. And I think those are, oh, and then Crimson Peak probably right at the bottom. I don't like Crimson Peak's not bad, but I don't love it. I think that's how I would probably sort of a quick and dirty ranking of Del Toro. That's probably how I'd rank it. I have to think about it a little bit more, but if you wanted a quick list, that's probably how I'd rank it. I absolutely adore Pacific Rim, so I will fight people on that. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. Ba-da-bum, ba-da-bum, bum, bum. And I know I missed Super Chat, and someone also, Lisa, asked about Pacific Rim 2, which I have many thoughts on Pacific Rim 2 that I will rant about. I need to rewatch the movie because it's been a minute. But Catherine Lambeth, research makes me anxious too. Stay sane, Jessie. Well, Catherine, number 1, here's a heart for you. Thank you so much for the Super Chat. You are lovely, and it's good to see you here, Catherine. Sending you a heart, and thank you so much for the Super Chat. And yeah, like, yeah, research, it's always stressful because you want to make sure you do a good job, but you're also like, am I going to miss something? Am I going to forget something? And you are. The answer is you are. You are going to miss or forget something. And really what research is about, you need to, like, something that I've come to understand about research is you make an argument, you come up with an idea, and that's your argument, and your research is there to back up your argument. Now, your argument should be informed by, like, stuff that you've researched. Like, it's kind of like feeds into each other. Like, you sort of like seep yourself in ideas and research and topics, and then you get an idea. You're like, oh, that's a cool argument. And then you sort of like, because you've been sort of like touching all these things, and then you sort of find the pieces that sort of research that. And always be open to changing your argument too, because if you learn that you're wrong through your research. But yeah, it's sort of its whole thing. Someone asked about Pacific Rim 2. I think Lisa did. I have to go back. It's been hot minute since I saw that movie. Pacific Rim 2 is one of those movies that frustrates me because there's like a subset of movies that I call like one draft away from great movies. Like there are some movies where, like, you know, they're bad. And then you watch them and, like, they're bad, they're awful, they were just sort of like, they had some weird ideas. But then there's a certain subset of movies that just makes me so frustrated because you're like, oh, this was actually, like, a good movie, and there's just a couple, if you had just changed a couple things here and there, you would have actually had a legitimately freaking phenomenal movie. But you were just a few changes away from it. And to be honest with you, I don't remember the specifics of Pacific Rim 2 enough to remember that, but I remember specifically, like, watching the movie and being like, oh, if they had just changed this and this. I think most of it had to do with, like, there was Johnny Boyega's character, and then there was, like, the girl character who was, like, his like ward, the person that Johnny Boyega's character worked with. And if I remember correctly, there was just like a couple moments, especially in the finale, that were like, oh, if you had changed these moments, you would have been able to highlight her arc a little bit better and actually sort of like complete her arc a little bit more. And so I was just a little bit, it was just one of those movies. It might be worth like doing a video on at some point, but I'd have to rewatch the movie. But it's like, it just felt a little bit off. The thing that I like about Pacific Rim 2, to argue for it is like a good thing. I will say 2 things that I liked about it. I did like the twist at the middle of the movie of, I won't spoil, but the twist of who the villain is in that movie, I actually really thought was kind of fun and clever. And then number 2, Johnny Boyega's character is like so gay in that film, it hurts. It's like him and the other guy in that movie. There's like a scene where they're like getting ice cream and stuff, and I'm like, oh, you two totally boned. You two totally boned. And I'm like, they are so gay in this movie together. It hurts me in the best way possible. So there is some stuff to love in Pacific Rim 2, but it's just like, you're 2 steps away from being great. And it was just like, frustration. If you just done a little bit more, you could have had it. You could have clinched it, but unfortunately they didn't. But I don't hate it. Talking about The Greatest Showman. Oh, The Greatest Showman. I really like The Greatest Showman. I mean, setting aside the problem of like aggrandizing this guy who was in real life really terrible, I actually don't hate The Greatest Showman. I think A Good Evening to in Paris. I think what was I saying? Patrick H. Willems did a really good video on The Greatest Showman, which I entirely agree with. But I did the music in The Greatest Showman. I just had stuck in my head. My favorite one being like live a little crazy and stand up pinnacle, just cynical. Don't you wanna get away from this day? I don't remember all the got what you need, but everything is doing fine. You can see the other side. Yeah, that was. I love that scene in the movie. That whatever that song where it was Hugh Jackman and I'm blanking on names tonight. I'm terrible with names. Oh my gosh, the other lead dude in that movie. But it's like when they're in the suits and they're like dancing at the bar. Great scene. That's actually legitimately a great scene. I love. I legitimately want to do if and when I ever get to do a movie of my own, I would love to do like choreography like that, where it's just like so specific and it's just like moving glasses and stuff like that. I want to like, I do want to like start directing and doing film at some point in my life. I have so many ideas that I want to do for that, but I have like, I feel like I would have a lot of choreography, like a lot of dance choreography in a lot of my movies. Zac Efron, thank you, appreciate that, Doom Paris. So someone's talking about Firefly reboot. I hadn't heard about that. I mean, it would be nice. I mean, hopefully they do it. Hopefully they can do it without Joss Whedon getting paid, because Joss Whedon should not get paid anymore for any stuff that he did. Well, okay, that's. I don't even want to touch that subject at the moment. But like, if the best point that I'll make is like, if they do a Firefly reboot, I hope that Joss Whedon does not get paid for that. Like, he should not make money on new projects. Like, they should not be hiring him or giving him money. But that being said, I would love a Firefly reboot. It's a good show, and I think it's a really fantastic show. And I would like to see Firefly be done without Joss Whedon in it and see what someone could do with that. But I haven't heard. I don't know if that's an actual thing that's gonna happen. I would be surprised if it actually did. Yeah, it is Doom Paris. The background music is Star Trek Online music. So, what do you want to see in Rian Johnson's Star Wars trilogy? I want to see risks. I want to see legitimate risks, because the thing that I like about The Last Jedi is one of those movies where it is. The Last Jedi has some of my favorite Star Wars. This is going to be a heated topic, but The Last Jedi is a Star Wars movie where I think it has some of my favorite things in Star Wars ever, and some of my least favorite things in Star Wars ever. So when I left that film, I was so like emotionally fraught, because like I did not know how to feel about it, because it's like, this stuff was great and this stuff was awful. And the stuff that I thought was really great about the film was when it took risks and when it tried to do different things. And the things that I hated about the movie were where it was just sort of like redoing Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Like, it just felt like it was like redoing those beats, except for maybe sometimes giving the opposite payoff, you know? So it was like, oh, let's have the fight in the throne room, but we'll kill the emperor, and it'll be surprising, and it'll be different. And it's just like, oh, you're just redoing the same beats, but just giving us a different payoff or doing something different. And then the Rose and Finn storyline was just awful. But like, I really loved the movies, like the movies tackling of like things are morally gray, and that the Force, this idea of the Force being the dark and the light side, is ultimately kind of a failure to like understand the nuance of what life is. And I thought that the movie actually hit on those ideas super, super well, but then ultimately failed to pay them off in an effort to kind of reinforce the sort of regular Star Wars dichotomy. The thing that would have saved the movie, like the ideas of like when they go to the casino planet and it's like, oh, you know, there's always war in this galaxy. There's always war going on in this galaxy, but the people who benefit are like the capitalism, right? The bankers and the gun runners and everything. Like, that was a fascinating idea. The casino, how the storyline on the casino planet played out was terrible. Like, the writing of those sequences were terrible, and I can get into the specifics of that. But that concept, that morally gray concept, was interesting. And this idea too within the film of Luke kind of being disillusioned with this Jedi system, that was interesting as well. And the idea of Rey and Kylo coming together. I am not a Reylo fan, but the idea of them coming together in defiance of this like dark and light side thing would have been so fascinating. Like, if that movie... Sorry, I'm off on a Last Jedi tangent. I will bring this back to Rian Johnson's coming up trilogy in just a second, because I promise I will bring it there. But what would have saved that movie for me is if when Kylo Ren reached out his hand and said, join me, if Rey had said yes. If Rey had said yes in that movie, I'm like, the movie has problems, but that is a risk that I find fascinating. And it would have led the Last Jedi, or the Return of Skywalker, or whatever, the Rise of Skywalker, whatever the last movie was. I forgot what it was. It would have led that movie to be a much more nuanced take. And I would have loved to see, like, the push and pull between Rey and Kylo, right? Like, that would have been that movie, been about, like, okay, Rey and Kylo are going to try and figure out this morally gray middle area between the light and dark. And I would have liked Kylo kind of pushing her to the dark side and Rey trying to push him to the light side a little bit more. And there's being this constant tension back and forth. But ultimately they kind of land in the middle. And it's about, like, how do you try to find the nuance of the situation, but also not give in too much to, not losing your ideals too much. That would have been like a great idea. I would have loved at the end that Rey keeps trying to save Kylo, and ultimately he isn't redeemed. He's like, no, you can't save Kylo, but you can still have you can still have this sort of like in between thing that doesn't have to be like the paragon of virtue and absolute hell, because we saw that the Jedi in the prequel were not perfect either, even though they were like trying to be arbiters of goodness. So I say all of that. And the reason that I bring all that up in terms of Rian Johnson's trilogy is I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong, but from what I've read, I feel like a lot of the like risk taking in that movie was from Rian Johnson. Like, those morally gray ideas were Rian Johnson's ideas. But ultimately, because of, and I don't want to put the blame fully on Disney, because I'm sure Rian did have some choice in this, but I feel like ultimately it was all this like interesting exploration was done in service of just reinforcing the same ideas so that they could have the third movie just be like, oh, it's another Star Wars film. Like, there was only so much risk they were willing to take. And so what I really hope that if they're doing a Rian Johnson trilogy, that what it is that they double down on that. And I hope they don't learn the wrong lessons from the backlash from The Last Jedi, as you saw them learn from The Rise of Skywalker. That if they do a Rian Johnson trilogy, that it really is about like doing something different with Star Wars. I am tired of the Empire and this fight between, like, even the Mandalorian's that, right? Like, I like the Mandalorian. I think it's good. Some of the best Star Wars that Disney has done. but it's still ultimately like reinforcing this like empire versus the rebels sort of thing, and sort of like living in that universe. And the Star Wars universe can be so much more interesting than that, and I feel like I just want to see like those types of risks, and I feel like Rian Johnson can do that. He's shown that he can do that. And that's ultimately what I would want to see a Rian Johnson trilogy to be. It's just like something completely different that just uses the Star Wars universe as a base and takes risks within that. So, yeah, I had thoughts on Rian Johnson's trilogy. Anyways, I missed a lot of the chat because I was just sort of ranting on the Rian Johnson trilogy there. I hope people enjoyed that. Rian Johnson's great. I mean, people give him. This is the thing that I hate about like Wicked Wolf. You're gonna enjoy this. The thing that I hate about like people like the Phantom Menace and stuff like that is like their memory is so short lived. And, like, so unforgiving and so hyper-focused. Like, whatever. You think, and like, unforgiving. Like, oh, Rian Johnson is canceled because he ruined The Last Jedi. Or Kathleen Kennedy needs to be destroyed because she's ruining Star Wars. I'm like, Rian Johnson has made some of the best movies that I've seen. Like, Looper is great. Knives Out is great. Both of those films, highly recommend. If you have not watched them. They are fantastic films. And whatever your feelings on The Last Jedi, they do. And hey, good to see you. And the same thing with Kathleen Kennedy. She's a creator who has made a bunch of really good work. And so I just get tired of people being like, we need to cancel Kathleen Kennedy. She should be fired. Like, Kathleen Kennedy probably defined your entire childhood, or at least had a hand in it. Go and look at some of her credits and the amount of work that she's done. She has done amazing work. And, like, we get into this dumb stuff of, like, they're ruining Star Wars. Meh. You know? Like, it just... Creators are just trying to create, you know? And sometimes the things that creators make aren't going to be the things that you like, and that's fine. And I understand holding these franchises that you care about deeply precious to you. Like, I understand you being upset with that, but it's like, they're franchises. Like, look, I like the direction Star Trek's taking right now, but if Star Trek was taking a direction I did not like, I would be understandably upset. I would be understandably bothered, but I would get over it because it's just a story. It's just a thing. And I would just be happy with maybe I would critique and criticize, as I still do, but try to push, you know, in a direction that I like, but ultimately be like, all right, it's fine. You know, whatever a creator's trying to create, and I appreciate, like, I take things as they are, you know? I appreciate bad works of art, you know? I appreciate works of art that make mistakes, you know? No work of art is going to be perfect. Like, for example, Batman v Superman, I just like works of art that, like, say something interesting. You know, like, what's the best way to put it? Batman v Superman is a movie that I think completely fundamentally misunderstands Batman and Superman. That movie is terrible. I think Batman and Superman is, like, legitimately a bad movie that just gets it wrong. But I am so fascinated. I love talking about Batman v Superman because it is such a complete and unique vision. It was like Zack Snyder made a thing that, like, was, like, actually interesting and said something and tried to do something with these characters that I found so deeply fascinating. And it's like, it's the wrong idea. I hated it. I did not like it in the slightest. But I found it so fascinating, and I like art that makes me interesting. I would rather a Batman v Superman. I would take a Batman v Superman any day over, like, what's like a mediocre movie, like X-Men Apocalypse. I don't have many opinions on X-Men Apocalypse because it's just fine. It's bland and it's boring, and it was noted to death by studio executives to be broad. You know, it's just like this broad possible thing to try to appeal as many people in the audience as possible. And, like, that's fine. It's like, you know, I'd rather something be wholly interesting and bad and just be, like, kind of, like, uniquely fascinating as a vision than something that, like, oscillates between being okay and good. You know? Like, something like X-Men Apocalypse is a bad movie, but I don't have much to say about it because it's just blandly bad. And some like Disney movies too, not talking about Marvel, but a lot of like Disney movies, like in terms of like their like live action output, are just like good, but blandly good. And I would rather eliminate the okay blockbuster. Like, I don't want to ever... I get just bored with movies that are just, like, okay blockbusters. They're just, like... They oscillate between being, like, bad and good, but they're not super interesting either way. I would take a really terrible film or a really great film over, like, blandly good. You know? So there we go. That's my opinion. And I know I missed a super chat. So, Reinhardt68 sending you a heart. I'm having a lot of hot takes today on this stream. You guys, y'all, sorry. Apologies for saying you guys, didn't mean to misuse that term. Y'all are giving me all the hot takes here. But sending you a heart, Reinhardt. Thank you so much for the super chat. You said, hey Jesse, just wanted to send some prayers and thoughts out to all the people in Texas right now struggling to get through this winter storm. Yeah, I said this at the top of the stream, but to everybody who is in Texas or without power right now, my love to you. And thank you, Reinhardt, for sending that message and for the super chat. But to send that message to everybody, like if you are in Texas right now, or have loved ones in Texas, or are worried about anyone dealing with power stuff right now, my heart goes out to you, and sending love to all of you. I know that I wish there was more I could do. Capitalism sucks. Yay! I mean, that's just the recurring trend. Capitalism sucks and the world is hell because of it, but there we go. So there we go. C. Stavin, what do you think of Matt Smith? I love Matt Smith. Matt Smith is great. I mean, I don't know much about him as like a person. He seems to be rather private. Like David Tennant, I know a decent amount about because he's pretty open about his personal life. But Matt Smith, I actually don't. Matt Smith seems like a very private dude. But everything I've seen Matt Smith in, I've generally enjoyed him. I mean, he's probably my second favorite Doctor. I mean, I like all the Doctors, to be honest, but he's probably my second favorite. He's probably my second favorite Doctor. And like, even in movies that I think are bad, I think he's generally pretty good in them. Like Terminator Genesis, terrible movie, but I thought he did a fine Skynet or whatever he was playing in that movie. The thing about Matt Smith is I'm honestly just kind of sad that after Doctor Who, he really hasn't captured that like success. He's gonna be in something new, right? There's something that he's gonna be in. Well, now I'm curious. Matt Smith's supposed to be in something coming up that I'm like, oh, that'll be good. Like Matt Smith actually getting like a good shot at something. I'm curious. Because I think he's a great Doctor. I just don't think he's ever had like The Crown. That's right, he was in The Crown, which everyone loves. I have not seen The Crown, but I should watch The Crown because I've heard he's great in The Crown. But other than Doctor Who and The Crown, I don't think he's had like that big movie or big thing. Oh, Last Night in Soho. That's what he's gonna be in, and Morbius too. Which Morbius, you know, Morbius is Morbius. Speaking of bland superhero movies, I'm sure that's what that's gonna be, but I'm fascinated by it. But he's gonna be in Last Night in Soho, which is Edgar Wright's newest film, which I am so excited for. Oh my gosh, Last Night in Soho, that's been one of my movies that I'm like, oh, can we just get that movie, please? Dang pandemic keeping me from the movies that I'm really excited about. Oh, he's also cast in the Game of Thrones prequel. He's gonna play Daemon Targaryen. That's actually a great casting for him. I don't know how I feel about the Game of Thrones prequels at this point, but actually, like, I could totally see him playing a Targaryen. I think that's actually a really good casting. I'm actually kind of very interested to see that now. But Last Night in Soho, I'm very much looking forward to. Yeah, people are saying, Morbius is Morbius indeed. Doom Paris says, Caleb, he's in the Game of Thrones prequel. Matt Smith should just leave Hollywood. Almost every British actor works so much better in the UK. David Mitchell never went in Hollywood. More power to him. I don't know. Yeah, I don't disagree. David Tennant's one of those. David Tennant I always love in whatever he's in. Though he never really broke through, did he? David Tennant also didn't really break through in Hollywood all that well. He did try a little bit. I mean, I liked him in Fright Night. He was fun in Fright Night. So. Have you checked out the new anime Other Side Picnic? It's excellent representation for anime. No, I haven't. I'll check it out. What is that? Other Side Picnic? Where's my pen? I'll write that down. I'm trying to find some good anime to watch. Other Side Picnic. Thank you for the recommendation, Lisa. I will check it out. Any opinions on the SCP Wiki? I don't know what that is, actually, Mr. Nameless. Apologies. If you can let me know what that is, maybe I'll have an opinion on, but yeah, I don't know what that is. Jared Leto certainly can't be worse as Morbius than he was as Joker. Oh, I agree. I mean, I'm interested. Morbius is interesting because, number one, I like Morbius from the animated show. I am so fascinated by Sony's desire to have, like, their Spider-Man villain universe, which is, like, such a weird idea. And like I said, I will take weird ideas. I will take weird ideas over like bland ideas. And so Morbius, I mean, Venom I thought was like blah kind of a film that was made a little bit more interesting by Tom Hardy's performance. Like Tom Hardy's performance in that is great. But that movie overall was kind of bland. And so that's what I think Morbius will probably be. Morbius will probably be a little bit of that, where it's like Jared Leto will probably have an interesting performance, but the movie itself will be kind of bland, and it'll be more interesting just to be like the like weird Sony like subset MCU universe that they're building. Is like it's kind of in the MCU, kind of, but not really. And you get like I believe what's his face Michael Keaton's gonna be in Morbius as Vulture, which is like. I'm deeply fascinated by what that's going to be like. So yeah, Morbius, I'm going to be more interested in talking about it as like a conversation piece than I think Morbius will be more interesting as like a conversation piece than it'll be as an actual movie. Kind of like how Venom was. Like Venom was more interesting as like a conversation than it was like for the movie itself. So. Ooh, TJ's and Boney SCP Wiki, Secure, Contain, Protect Foundation, a huge open source eldritch horror creative writing project. That sounds right up my alley. Oh my gosh. I need to check that out. I'll also write that down. SCP Wiki. That sounds right up my alley for stuff that I like. You just had me at eldritch horror. Oh yeah, I agree. Tenet and Jessica Jones is amazing. Like, first season Jessica Jones, some of the best MCU out there, just for David Tennant alone. And Kristen Ritter. Kristen Ritter's also great in that season, too. Yeah, Keaton was Vulture in the MCU. Yeah, and he's supposed to be in Morbius as well, which is fascinating. No, Psychic Refugee, here's your heart. Sending a heart to you. Just hope you're staying warm. But I do not know Vera Drew's the People's Joker. You will have to tell me next time we hang out. Because I actually do not know that at all. I don't know what that is. C. Steven, do you think Kai Wynn had girl power? She had Pa-Wraith power, that's for sure. I don't know if she had girl power, necessarily. I don't know if I would place it as that. Like, she was definitely, like, a nuancedly written... Like, well... I don't know if she had moments of being written nuancedly. Like, I loved her. Like, she's a fascinating, like, character. And definitely, like, one that is, like, so interesting to watch. And she was definitely, like, it was really great to see, like, a really strong, like, Star Trek, especially during the TNG era. And I guess even modern era, too, honestly. But especially during the TNG era, like, on TV, like, there was actually some very strong female villains. Like Seska was pretty good on Voyager. Borg Queen was pretty cool. Bit over-sexualized, but still pretty good. Kai Wynn was great. So there's some, like, actually some really strong female villains in Star Trek history. Just considering Rick Berman was in charge of that period, you wouldn't expect so. Like, modern Star Trek hasn't really had like, the only female villain I can think of off the top of my head is, I guess, L'Rell. L'Rell technically you could qualify her as a villain, especially in the first season, and she was good. Georgiou was really good. Osira, I actually liked Osira. I ended up liking Osira and found her pretty fascinating towards the end. even though she started off a little bit bland. So there's some strong female villains even in modern Trek too. Kai Opaka is greater than Kai Wid. Yes, agree. Agree. Oh wow, is it a... Jesus. It is already 7. I did not expect that at all. Wow. Time flies when you're giving out the hot takes that people will probably clip out and yell at you for somewhere online. I'm sure my last Jedi takes will be taken by somebody. But yeah, I'll stick around for another like 5-10 minutes, hang out with everybody, and then I gotta go have some dinner. Shax is a badass Bajoran. I love Shax. Shax from Lower Decks. Shax is great. Freaking love Shax. I have really limited tolerance for Michael Keaton. There's only a small handful of his movies I like. That's fair. I like Michael Keaton quite a bit. Like, he has been in some of my favorite movies. I mean, I probably think Michael Keaton is my favorite Batman. Not my favorite Batman movies. I'm not a big fan of the Tim Burton kind of Batman films. I found them a bit too cartoonish for me personally. Though 89 Batman's probably the best one of all of that sort of area, obviously. And I don't hate Batman. I don't hate any of them, honestly. But they were, like, the Tim Burton 2 films, Batman and Batman Returns, are, like, kind of this weird middle ground where they're a little bit too campy. They're, like, in this middle ground between serious and campy that I actually, like, I didn't love. I actually weirdly like, I don't think they're better movies, but I think Batman Forever and Batman and Robin are actually more interesting. Just because they're, like, they're interestingly bad. They're definitely not better movies. Don't misconstrue me. But they're not better movies. But I find them a little bit more interesting and more enjoyable as a rewatch. But Michael Keaton himself is great. Like, I love Christopher Nolan's Batman films are probably my favorite Batman films, but Christian Bale is not the interesting part about those movies. Like, Michael Keaton will be is definitely the most interesting Batman, which is why I'm excited for him to return in supposedly in he's coming back in the Flashpoint movie, I believe. Supposedly is where he's going to come back, which I'm fascinated to see that. I also want to I have a pitch for a Batman Returns movie. I think they're already talking about doing a Batman Returns, probably setting up, but I do have a pitch. This is what I'll end on. I'll do my pitch for my Batman Returns pitch, see if anyone finds it interesting. But Andrew Clegg, sending you a heart. Thank you so much for the super chat. You said, Jessie, best overall female Star Trek character. I mean, I don't necessarily like ranking characters by, like, within gender, necessarily. But if I had to pick, like, a personal favorite, it would probably be between... Seven of Nine would definitely be up there. Kira is definitely up there. Trying to think. Actually, I put Mariner from Lower Decks up there too. But we'll see how she develops over future seasons. But she's definitely already in the running so far. Yeah, I would probably say those three. If I had to pick one personally, I think Seven of Nine resonates the most with me personally. And Jessie, obviously, I don't even know why. Like, Jessie, obviously, don't hate me, Jessie. Where is she? She's gonna get me. Jessie is in there as well. I probably would say 7 of 9 or Jessie would probably resonate with me personally, but there you go. Oh, and yeah, that was what I was gonna say about Birdman with Keaton is also great. Birdman was that's another one of those movies that I watched several times in theaters. I watched Birdman several times in theaters. But what was I? Oh, my Batman Returns. Everyone's heading out. Don't worry, I'm not ending just yet. Well, maybe I'll save that. I'll do a video with my Batman Returns. Hey, look, I love Donovan. I know I didn't say Janeway. I like Janeway. Wouldn't rank her in the top. She's definitely not, like, I love Janeway, don't get me wrong, but she's definitely not in the top. But yeah, Birdman, let's see. Please don't hurt Jessie. I just filmed a bit with Jessie too. She's going to be in a future video probably in like a month or two, depending on when I edit it. I will answer one more question. Let's see. There's two here. Batwoman sucks. Should have kept Kate Kane. And who's your favorite Doctor Who character? Yeah, I will be honest. Not a big fan of Batwoman. I watch all the CW/DC shows. I'm actually very excited for Superman and Lois. I'm kind of fascinated with what that'll be. And most of them are like kind of interesting. They've kind of gotten all... They like Flash and Arrow started off strong and then kind of blanded out towards the end. Still, Legends of Tomorrow is still the best one. Batwoman, meh. I'm kind of find Batwoman to kind of be meh. Second season's been okay so far, but again, it's just kind of like, it's okay. It's fine. Favorite Doctor Who character, probably a tie between River Song, probably, and David Tennant's Doctor. I like David. I personally resonate with David Tennant's Doctor quite a bit. His like arrogance. Like I don't feel like I'm arrogant. Maybe I am, but maybe it's arrogant from me to not think I'm arrogant. But David Tennant's Doctor I think is definitely up there. He's easily my favorite Doctor. I'd have to think a little bit on my favorite Doctor Who character overall. But David Tennant's Doctor would definitely be up there. I also like Captain Jack. Yanto's pretty cool too from Torchwood. Bill, I like Bill. Bill's great. Nardole. There's a few. I'd have to like actually sit down and really think about it. Anyways, yes, I think I'm gonna head out so I can go get some dinner. Making some food for everybody, for myself, not for you. Love you all, but I could not make food for everybody. You are all lovely people. I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for supporting me, for hanging out with me, for doing these live streams with me. I hope you all have fun. And just a couple quick announcements. Tomorrow, like I mentioned earlier, I have my For All Mankind video. It's going to be premiering at 11 o'clock. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So come by tomorrow at 11 o'clock for the premiere of the For All Mankind video. I am also probably, asterisk on probably, it depends on how I feel, but I'm 90% sure I will be doing a drunk live stream of Half-Life 2. I got it right here. So I probably will be getting drunk and playing Half-Life 2 Saturday night. So if all of you want to see Jessie get drunk and play some more Half-Life 2 like I did last weekend, you can all join me Saturday night. I don't know specific times. It sort of depends on when I get to it. But those are the two things that are coming up for the rest of the week. So yeah, join me tomorrow for All Mankind, and join me Saturday while I get drunk and play Half-Life 2. But until then, I wish you all a wonderful evening. Thank you for being beautiful, lovely, amazing people, and I really appreciate all of you. And I wish you all live long and prosper. And let's see if I can... All right, how are we going to turn... You think I would have figured out how to turn off this live stream quickly by now? But I never can figure it out. It's always, like, weird. And there it is. All right. Live long and prosper, everybody. You're all lovely. And I'll bid you all a good evening. I don't know why I've suddenly become a vampire. Good evening, folks. Bwahaha. I want to suck your blood. Bwahaha. And now I go. Goodbye. Bwahaha. Good night, everyone.